Welcome to Terror Tales in the quiet town of Ash Hollow, where the fields stretch endlessly and the wind whispers secrets to those who listen. Lies a farmhouse that has stood for centuries. It is said that the land surrounding it is fertile, but cursed. Locals speak of a time when the earth turned black and the crops withered, a time when the harvest was not of wheat or corn, but of souls. This is the story of that cursed land, the tale of the harvest of the damned. The farmhouse at the edge of Ash Hollow had always been a place of mystery and fear. It was once a thriving homestead, a beacon of prosperity in a town that depended on the land for survival. But something changed. Something dark took root beneath the soil, and the land that once gave light began to take it instead. The farmhouse had been abandoned for years, left to the elements and the restless spirits that now called it home. The fields, once golden with crops, were now overgrown with weeds, their roots entangled with the bones of those who had disappeared over the years. The locals avoided the place, whispering stories of ghostly apparitions, strange lights in the night, and the cries of the damned carried on the wind. When the Carter family moved to Ash Hollow, they were unaware of the farmhouse dark history. They were drawn to the land, to its potential, and to the promise of a new beginning. But as they settled into their new home, they began to notice things that weren't quite right. The house was always cold, even in the height of summer. The floors creaked with footsteps that no one was making, and shadows moved where no light should cast them. It wasn't long before the family began to hear the whispers. At first, they were faint, indistinct, but as the days passed, the voices grew louder, more insistent. They spoke of the harvest, of the blood that had been spilled, and of the souls that were trapped, unable to find peace. The Carters tried to ignore it, but the voices followed them, filling their dreams with images of death and despair. One night, as a storm raged outside, the eldest daughter, Emily, was drawn to the fields. She had always been curious, unafraid of the stories the locals told. But as she stepped outside, she felt a chill that cut to her bones. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the ground beneath her feet felt soft, as if it were breathing. As she walked deeper into the fields, she saw faint ghosts of the damned. They stood among the withered crops, their eyes hollow, their mouths open in silent screams. They reached out to her, their fingers skeletal and cold, and as they touched her, she felt their pain, their despair, and their hunger. They were trapped, cursed to relive their deaths over and over again, and they needed her to help them escape. Terrified, Emily went back to the farmhouse, but the spirits followed her. Their whispers fell in the air, begging for release. She knew she had to find out what had happened, what had cursed the land and the souls that dwelt within it. She began to research the history of the farmhouse, speaking to the few locals who would still talk about it, and what she discovered chilled her to the core. The land had once belonged to a man named Jacob Thorne, a farmer who had made a pact with dark forces in exchange for a bountiful harvest. But the price was steep. Souls of those who worked the land were forfeit, doomed to serve as eternal caretakers of the cursed fields. Thorne had reaped his harvest, but the spirits of the damned rose up against him, dragging him into the earth to suffer alongside them. As the Carters struggled to survive in a haunted farmhouse, the spirits grew more restless, more desperate. They began to lash out, their anger and pain turning violent. The family was trapped, unable to leave. As the ghosts sought their revenge, Emily knew there was only one way to end the curse: to destroy the farmhouse and the fields that bound the spirits to this world. In a final, desperate act, the Carters set the farmhouse ablaze. As the flames consumed the house, the ground beneath it shook, and the spirits rose up, their screams echoing through the night. The fire spread to the fields, turning the cursed land to ash. And as the last of the farmhouse crumbled to the ground, the spirits were finally freed, their whispers fading into the wind. The Carter family left Ash Hollow, The scars of their ordeal forever etched into their memories. The land where the farmhouse once stood was now barren, a blackened scar on the earth, a reminder of the dark forces that had once ruled there. The locals spoke of the fire, of the screams they had heard that night, but no one dared to go near the ruins. And so, the story of the harvest of the damned passed into legend, a tale told in whispers, a warning to those who would dare to tread on cursed ground. For in Ash Hollow, the past never truly dies, and the spirits of the damned are always watching, waiting for the next harvest. This is a high-level overview of the story structure and key points as narrated, without the full 10,000 words of detail. Expanding it to a full 10,000 words would involve fleshing out each chapter with more intricate descriptions, dialogue, and deeper character development. Let me know if you would like a particular chapter expanded, or if you want to explore more details within the story. In the heart of the rural Midwest, where the vast fields stretch far into the horizon, stands a farm that time seems to have forgotten. It was once the lifeblood of a small town of Willow Creek, where generations of farmers toiled from sunrise to sunset. But now, the farm is abandoned, its barns crumbling, its fields overgrown. The most prominent feature of the land is the old siloto, ominous and untouched by time. Locals say it's cursed, and few dare to approach it. This is the story of the cursed silo and the dark secrets it harbors. Chapter 1: The Forgotten Farm. The farm had been owned by the Eldridge family for over a century. It was once a bustling hub of activity, with livestock roaming the fields, crops thriving in the fertile soil, and the family living in relative peace. But that was before the tragedy for the land became tainted by death and despair. The townsfolk still remember the day the Eldridge family disappeared. It was a quiet morning when a thick fog rolled in, obscuring the farm from view. By the time the fog lifted, the family was gone, and the farm was left in eerie silence. No one dared to investigate too closely, but rumors spread like wildfire. Some said they had seen strange lights coming from the silo, while others whispered that the land itself had swallowed the family whole. As Daniel began to work the land, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone. The old farmhouse creaked and groaned as if the very walls were alive, and objects would move on their own. Tools would disappear and reappear in strange places, and the barn doors would swing open and shut by themselves. But it was the silo that disturbed him the most. The tall, cylindrical structure loomed over the farm, casting a long shadow that seemed to stretch far beyond its physical limits. It was always cold near the silo, no matter how hot the day was, and Daniel could hear strange noises coming from within, muffled voices, the sound of scratching, and once a low, guttural growl. He knew he should leave, that the farm was cursed, but something compelled him to stay, to uncover the secrets hidden within the silo. As days turned into weeks, the haunting grew more intense. Daniel started to see figures in the field's ghostly apparitions of the Eldridge family, their faces twisted in pain and fear. They would appear at the edge of his vision, watching him silently before vanishing into the mist. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, and Daniel began to lose sleep, plagued by nightmares of being trapped inside the silo, unable to escape. One night, as a storm reached outside, Daniel was awakened by a loud bang. He rushed outside to find the silo door had been blown open. Against his better judgment, he grabbed a flashlight and ventured inside. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and as he shone the light around, he saw thin figures standing in the shadows, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The spirits of the Eldridge family were trapped inside the silo, their souls bound to the cursed land. They reached out to him, their voices pleading for help, for release from the torment they had endured for so long. But as Daniel tried to flee, the door slammed shut behind him, trapping him inside with the vengeful spirits. Terrified and alone, Daniel tried to escape, but the spirits would not let him go. They revealed to him the truth of the curse that the land had been tainted by a terrible act of betrayal. Many years ago, the Eldridge family had been caught in a deadly feud with a neighboring farmer over the land. In a fit of rage, the neighbor had locked the family inside the silo and set it ablaze, cursing the land and dooming the souls of the family to eternal torment. The silo had been rebuilt after the fire, but the curse remained, binding the spirits of the Eldridge family to the land. They could not move on, their souls trapped in a never-ending cycle of pain and despair. And now, they sought revenge on anyone who dared to claim the farm as their own. Daniel knew that the only way to break the curse was to confront the evil that had taken root in the land. He had to find a way to free the spirits of the Eldridge family and end the curse once and for all. But the spirits were relentless, their anger and pain driving them to madness. They tormented Daniel day and night, pushing him to the brink of insanity. In a desperate bid to survive, Daniel sought the help of the town's oldest resident, an old woman named Agnes, who had known the Eldridge family. She told him of an ancient ritual that could break the curse, but it required great sacrifice. Daniel would have to face the spirits in the silo, confront the dark forces that had bound them to the land, and offer his own life in exchange for their freedom. On the night of the ritual, Daniel made his way to the silo, armed with only a handful of items. Agnes had given him a silver knife, a vial of holy water, and a bundle of dried herbs. The air was thick with tension as he entered the silo, the spirits swirling around him, their whispers growing louder, more frenzied. As he began the ritual, the spirits became more violent, attacking him with a fury born of years of suffering. But Daniel pressed on, reciting the ancient words, calling on the spirits to find peace. As he plunged the silver knife into the ground, the silo shook, the walls vibrating with a deafening roar. The spirits let out a final, anguished scream before dissipating into the air, their forms dissolving into mist. Exhausted, Daniel collapsed to the ground as the curse was lifted. The land fell silent, the oppressive darkness lifting as the spirits were finally freed. The cursed silo, once a beacon of fear and despair, crumbled to the ground, its hold on the land broken. Daniel survived the ordeal, but he was forever changed by what he had experienced. The town of Willow Creek breathed a sigh of relief as the curse was lifted. The dark cloud that had hung over the farm for so long finally dissipating. The land slowly began to heal, the fields once again yielding crops, and the farm was sold to new owners who knew nothing of the curse that had once plagued it. But Daniel could never forget the memories of the spirits. The fear and the darkness that had consumed the land would haunt him for the rest of his life. He left Willow Creek, unable to stay in a place that held so many painful memories, and as he drove away, he couldn't help but glance in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the cursed silo standing tall once again, a reminder that some spirits never truly rest. This is a structured outline of The Cursed Silo, narrated with the key events and plot points in a concise manner. Expanding this into a full 10,000-word story would involve adding more detailed descriptions, developing the characters further, and intensifying the horror elements throughout each chapter. Let me know if you'd like to explore any specific aspects of the story in greater detail. In the remote countryside of Kansas, where the wind sweeps across the plains and the nights are eerily silent, there stands a bar that has long been abandoned. It was once the center of a thriving farm, a place of hard work and honest living, but now it is a place of fear. Its doors closed to all who might dare approach. The locals avoid it, warning travelers with tales of strange sounds and ghostly apparitions. but no one knows the true horror that lies within until now. This is the story of Blood in the Barn. Chapter 1: The Haunted Farmstead. The farm at the edge of town had once been a symbol of prosperity. The Whitaker family, who owned the land, were respected members of the community. They worked the fields, raised livestock, and took pride in their home. But everything changed one fateful night, a night that would leave the farm forever stained with blood. The barn, a massive structure of weathered wood and iron nails, was where the tragedy occurred. It had been a place of life, a shelter for animals, a storage for hay, and a workshop for the family. But after that night, it became a place of death. The townsfolk whispered about the screams they heard, the blood that seeped from under the barn doors, and the disappearance of the Whitaker family. The farm was abandoned, and the barn was left to rot, a tomb for the horrors it held within. Years passed, and the story of the Whitaker farm became a legend, a ghost story told around campfires. No one dared to buy the land until a young couple, Tom and Lisa, moved to town. They were drawn to the farmhouse rustic charm, unaware of the darkness that lurked within the barn's walls. The townsfolk warned them, but they dismissed the stories as superstition, eager to start a new life in the quiet countryside. The couple began to renovate the farmhouse, bringing it back to life after years of neglect. But as they worked, they noticed strange things happening around the barn. The animals refused to go near it, and the air around it was always cold, no matter the weather. At night, they could hear faint whispers coming from within the barn, sounds that made the hairs on their necks stand on end. Lisa began to have nightmare visions of blood, of figures moving in the shadows, and of a presence that watched them from the barn. One day, while exploring the farm, Tom decided to open the barn doors. Despite Lisa's protests, the interior was dark and damp, the air thick with the smell of decay. As he stepped inside, his flashlight revealed a scene that chilled him to the bone. The floor was stained with dark, dried blood, and strange symbols were carved into the wooden beams. In the center of the barn was a large trapdoor, its edges darkened as if scorched by fire. Tom tried to open the trapdoor, but it was locked tight, as if something on the other side was holding it closed. He could feel a malevolent force emanating from beneath the floorboards, a force that seemed to be watching him, waiting for him to leave. He backed away, shaken, and told Lisa what he had found. She insisted they leave the farm, but Tom was determined to uncover the truth. He was drawn to the barn, to the mystery that lay beneath it, despite the growing sense of dread that gnawed at him. As the days passed, the haunting grew more intense. The whispers from the barn became louder, more insistent, and the nightmares that plagued Lisa became more vivid. She would wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, her mind filled with images of blood-soaked walls, shadowy figures, and the feeling of being trapped. Tom, ill, began to experience strange occurrences as tools would go missing, only to reappear in the barn, and the doors would swing open on their own, as if inviting him inside. The couple's relationship began to strain under the weight of the haunting. Lisa begged Tom to leave, but he refused, convinced that there was something he needed to find, something that would explain the darkness that had taken hold of their home. One night, as a storm raged outside, Tom heard a loud crash from the barn. He grabbed a flashlight and ran outside, determined to confront whatever was haunting them. As Tom entered the barn, he saw that the trapdoor had been forced open. A foul smell rose from the opening, and the darkness within seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Despite the terror that gripped him, Tom descended into the cellar beneath the barn. The air was thick and heavy, and the walls were lined with strange, ancient symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. At the far end of the cellar, Tom found a small, crude altar, stained with dried blood. The walls were covered in old newspaper clippings, all detailing the disappearance of the Whitaker family. In the center of the room, Tom found what remained of the family skeletal remains shackled to the walls, their faces twisted in eternal horror. But it was the shadowy figure standing in the corner that caught his attention, a figure that seemed to be made of darkness itself, with glowing red eyes that bore into Tom's soul. The figure began to move toward him, and as it did, the temperature in the room plummeted. Tom realized too late that he had awakened something ancient and evil, something that had been waiting for decades to be freed. The shadows enveloped him, and as he screamed, the barn above began to shake, as if the very earth was trying to swallow it whole. Lisa, frantic with worry, rushed to the barn after hearing Tom's screams. She found the trapdoor open, but as she peered into the darkness below, a wave of terror washed over her. She knew she had to save Tom, but as she descended into the cellar, she felt the oppressive weight of the evil that lurked within. Lisa found Tom at the center of the room, unconscious and surrounded by a circle of blood. The shadowy figure loomed over him, its form shifting and pulsating with malevolent energy. Lisa could feel the presence of the Whitaker family in the room, their spirits trapped by the dark ritual that had been performed all those years ago. The figure was using Tom to complete the ritual, to open a gateway to something far worse. In a desperate act, Lisa grabbed a rusty old scythe that hung on the wall and slashed at the figure. The blade passed through it, but it recoiled, its form flickering and fading for a moment. The spirits of the Whitaker family surged forward, their spectral hands pulling at the figure, trying to drag it back into the darkness. With a final, desperate effort, Lisa shattered the blood-stained altar, breaking the circle and disrupting the ritual. The shadowy figure let out a deafening screech as it was pulled into the darkness, the air around it crackling with energy. The cellar began to collapse, the walls crumbling as the spirits of the Whitaker family were finally released from their torment. Lisa grabbed Tom and dragged him out of the cellar just as the trapdoor slammed shut behind them, sealing the evil within. The barn was quiet once again, its dark secrets buried beneath the earth. Tom and Lisa left the farm the next day, unable to bear the memories of what had happened there. The land was left to rot, the barn slowly crumbling as nature reclaimed what was once hers. The story of the Whitaker farm and the blood in the barn became a local legend, a cautionary tale told to keep children away from the old, decaying structure. But those who dared to venture near the barn on a quiet night might still hear the faint whispers of the spirits and feel the chill of the darkness that lingers within. For the land may have been cleansed, but the blood that was spilled there will never be forgotten. This is a structured outline of Blood in the Barn, narrated with the key events and plot points. Expanding this into a full 10,000-word story would involve adding more detailed descriptions, developing the characters further, and intensifying the horror element throughout each chapter. Let me know if you'd like to explore any specific aspects of the story in greater detail.